Hello, welcome to my tutorial for BEQDesigner. Now, and this is probably mostly for David, budget audio file. Okay, you're gonna see how much I ramble. So let's see, let's get to BEQDesigner. You'll see when it first opens, it does this thing. I guess it's for like logging. You know how it is. You're more IT knowledgeable career-wise than I am. And also for those who are probably following other than David. What I wanted to do was to show you what these settings are default. When it first opens, let's make sure we have these settings right. These graph limits. You're going to want to make note of this. Whatever it is, that's not checked. Keep it not checked. I think, at least in the past, when you updated or got a new version, this was default checked. Hopefully he unchecked that. But if not, make sure you uncheck that. Make sure all these settings are looking like this. After that, press apply, whatever you need to do if you made any changes, or, if not, just press the X. This is information for when you do filters, and you can make sure, check that. It's filter, clip, whatever. But for the purposes of this tutorial, we're not going to go over that kind of stuff. So just to ignore that, make sure you have these settings defaulted as they are here. Also up here, I don't know if you can change those. Just, make sure it's the same. That's not checked. Make sure that's not checked. Yeah, on your end. I think that is all there is on here. And let's go into the settings, preferences. This is wherever you defaulted your installation to. Can be not the C, external, wherever you want to put that. The FFmpeg. Let's go to the next one. Make sure everything's defaulted as I show here. Extraction. Make sure these are important too. Those are not checked. These are checked. And style. Same thing. I like the dark theme. You can choose a lot of those different ones if you want. Spec lab. Black colors. Make sure that's checked. Graph. Pay attention to the settings. Default. Stuff is defaulted. I don't like getting updates in beta versions, so that's up to you. And all of that. That's Brad's GitHub. It's default. And made any changes, save obviously. Cancel out of that. So those are the main settings. Let's see if there's anything else in here we need to be aware of for now. No. So what we want to do, we're going to work with extracting audio. That's the first thing you need to do when you go in here. That's the purpose of why you came here, to get all of the graph and spectrum settings to post on the forums or wherever you want to post. And once you load it, you're gonna see these. We'll get to that later, but first you need to load the file. And my file is here, Need for Speed. Okay, so yeah, all of these settings, just, I don't think this pre-populates. It's gonna go by whatever the file is. And keep that, and all of these options, mixed amount, make sure that's checked. Again, not checked. I can't remember what that's for, but I don't use it. And that's it, and you're going to do the extracting game. All right, now when this completes, it always seems to say 99.99%. Don't ask me why. I have no idea. I don't know. Doesn't make sense to me, but I don't really care as long as it does what I need it to do. So you create signals, and you get the nice little line graph like we're used to. Again, if I haven't touched on anything, just make sure you keep the regular settings. And that I'm going to show you something. The default that I was talking about earlier with this log scale, this is what happens when you do log scale. And I remember when they were first setting up BEQ and people were like, hey, you know, they put the graph on there like, yep, it's the log scale thing. So hopefully he has fixed the updated versions of BEQDesigner to where that's unchecked. That would be awesome, but I have no idea. All right, so we have that. So once that populates, you want to save that, and that's under File and Save Signal, and just save it. That default is, and now you want to go to Analyze the Audio to get the peak spectrum. Pay attention to these defaults. All of this stuff is important. Make sure they're there. These settings are there. If they're not, for this particular one, this depends upon if you do BEQ. The 40 is there for you have the BEQ'd version versus the original, right? So you'd want to show 40, and this is the, the first 40, you're going up from the low subsonic frequencies. So that's kind of cool to show that. But for our purposes, we just want a base graph, so you can have it default. I think it's probably better to have this default to this. That's all you're going to do, because you want it to show the full base graph. And here's the thing. I like doing this beforehand, and you know how the base graph, I should say the peak spectrum is what we're in. I'm trying to get the proportions right on here. So I'm doing this, how it's usually wider like that. I think this looks fine. And this is important because you want these proportions right for when this populates. So now you need to get the file that you initially created when you opened it. So you click on that, and this load is going to take a while. And also to save it is going to take a while. So that's, yeah. So the thing that you want to do, let's do this. Since I don't do much BEQ personally anymore. So once you set that, I should have mentioned this earlier. Once you set that, you can save that layout as is default. Click a few times, there you go. And then load it. This is going to take a while. Okay, there it is. As you can see, the proportions look nice there. And we need to save the chart. I'm just going to show you the default pixels and save. And this will take even longer. So I'm going to put the name of the film before that. And do peak spectrum. And so I defaulted to PNG. This is where you need to really have patience. It is saved, and let's see. The filter stuff is for BEQ. We're not going to get into that, so we're not doing that. So we can get out of this. And what you want to do is go to File, because you want to show the peak spectrum with this line graph. So you want to go to File and Save Chart. It opens it up again. And we're going to grab what we just created, spectrum, and this is going to show above this line graph. If you so choose, you can also put artwork. If you download it, you can, find it there. Or actually, I'm sorry, the artwork you would find there. But for here, if you find it online at fanart.tv, which has better, higher resolutions than you normally have from a Google search, you can just put the URL there and it'll put it in there automatically. And so, again, leave this default, whatever those are. Font size is something you can mess around with yourself. Let's go over these things too. Font size, you can't plug this in by the keyboard. You gotta go up or down. I don't know why, but it is what it is. Let's see. These are things that I never mess with. Just default stuff. Okay, I want to put the title. I usually have that, and I usually will add base graph at the end of it. And I used to have mine smaller, the font size, but now I like it bigger. Maybe it's a fact of getting older. It's up to you. I don't know what show border is. I never use that. So let's save that. And again, I'm going to paste this on there. I'm going to do base graph again. And this, you're going to have to type PNG or whatever you want. I think this to me is better because I like it as quality-wise over JPEG anyway. But when you put JPEG, it asks you about RGB and all that. I don't want to bother with that. So we can just save that there. And when you get out of this, you know, just close. And then you find your resulting graph. And there you go. Look at that, what we did. Woo! So, David, let me know if you have any questions. Anyone else? I guess leave some comments. Thank you. Thank you very much.